My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of the Season 1 finale of Loki. And just a heads up, I will be going in depth. I will be spoiling this episode, so if you haven't seen it yet, there's your warning. Anyways, I'm very mixed on Jonathan Majors in this episode. He's goofy and silly and over the top, and considering that's what they wrote the character to be like in this episode, it's not Jonathan Majors' fault at all. He is good for what the show required him to do. And I do like the idea that there's going to be all these different versions of him. One that's going to be just a silly goofball like this one, and another one that's going to be serious and deadly. Like, that's a cool idea. But he's also the big baddie that they've built up to for the entire season, and he just ends up being a goofball. So in the grand scheme of the MCU, I like the idea of what they're going to do with this character. But looking at it as a villain in Loki, I just can't help but be underwhelmed. When he came out and he's just making a bunch of jokes, I'm just like, Marvel's doing it again. Like, they don't do serious villains anymore, it seems like. And I don't like the direction they took this character, especially for this season 1 finale. I will say that I like some of the ideas that this episode touches on, like the idea of what's more important, the greater good or free will. Or is the TVA actually good? Like, they've built them up to be the bad guys here. But I think that there's an argument that they could still be considered to be the good guys. But the show just barely touches on those ideas. It never goes in depth on them. It just mentions them briefly and then it's forgotten about. And if they expanded upon that, I think I could have really liked this episode, but they didn't, so I don't. My biggest problem with this episode is that it's non-stop exposition. Nothing happens. The entire episode is just a guy explaining a bunch of stuff. That's the entire episode. There's nothing more to it. And I think exposition is so lazy. It's the easiest way to communicate information. It doesn't stay with you. It's just information overload. We gotta get out of here. Let's just have the guy say everything. And I just think it's very boring. It does nothing for me. The whole romance between Loki and Sylvie, aka himself but female, is just an awful idea. I just think it's weird. I'll never be invested in a relationship where it's two of the exact same person. Like, that's just weird. Like, is that incest? Like, it's gotta be a form of incest. Like, it's not appropriate. It's not okay. No, I did not want them to get together. That kiss was just weird. No, it's so weird. Like, I'm not alone here, right, guys? It's weird. It's really freaking weird. And then we have Owen Wilson going back to the TVA and facing a judge when, I don't know, you know who I'm talking about. And I just didn't care for that scene whatsoever. I didn't care about their friendship. It wasn't really well established. There's 2 scenes prior where they talk, and that's about it. So when they're fighting and all that, I just didn't care. And I just wish that Marvel would actually have a serious fight scene for once. Like, it seems like the two are gonna fight, and then just she beats him up, and it's meant to be a joke. Like, can they just carry through with just one action scene or with one menacing villain? Because everything just feels like a joke now. I complain about that in Black Widow, and it's still true here. I can just say that the actual logic in this episode doesn't make a hint of sense. Like, you kill King, and then the multiverse just breaks. Like, what's the connecting tissue? Like, I know he says there was a bunch of him, he killed them all with the giant cloud monster thing, and now if he dies, then that will happen again. Like, where's the logic in that? Like, I just feel like they're just making stuff up on the spot and hoping nobody questions it. But if you do stop and question it, then it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And I hate that. And yes, the big news, the multiverse is happening. And what do I think? Like, I knew this was coming. I'm excited for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness only because Sam Raimi's directing it. But it just makes this whole season exactly what I thought it was from the beginning, and that's nothing more than a bridge. What was the point of this season? It wasn't to flesh out Loki, because they didn't. Any character work they did on him was in episode 1. The entire goal of this season, make no mistake, was to set up the multiverse. And when it's just that obvious, and it's that apparent, and the show has nothing else to offer, then it's just like, it's bad writing. It's a bad story. It just feels so unessential. It feels like it exists only for one purpose. And when that purpose is to pretty much be a trailer for movies to come, then I just don't care. There's so many reasons why I hate this show. I will do a full review for the show either next week or the week after, because I think this is a terrible show. I said Black Widow was the worst MCU movie. I think this is the worst MCU anything. I thought this season of television was complete garbage in every single possible way. This last episode did nothing for me. It's non-stop exposition. The big baddie just turns out to be a joke, even though I do think there's potential with his character in the future of the MCU. But like I said, looking at him as the villain of Loki Season 1, he was completely underwhelming. Yeah, that's all I got to say. I didn't care for it. I thought it was a really bad hour of television. So I'm going to go ahead and give Loki Season 1 finale a 4 out of 10. Anyways, what did you think of the season finale of Loki? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe, make sure you e-power me $100,000. And stay tuned for some more videos soon. Gavin out.